Rob was supposed to sing today on the Manspace.
Welcome to the Manspace podcast. We're your hosts, Doctors Matt Brown and Rob Porter, and clinical therapist Mike Porter.
Welcome, Spacemen. I'm going to count it. The last episode, actually, when you did you were like, doesn't I kept that on there. It fixed with tyrannical Mike.
T-Rex Mike. Mike the Tyrant.
Mike's right. I was going to sing Aretha Franklin, but then I thought maybe I'll say Urethra Franklin and get it wrong.
But then that would not be respectful, Rob.
That would not be full of R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Sock it to me. All right.
That is a phrase we need to bring back for the kids that are obsessed with new slang. Sock it to me.
That is someone just said one yesterday that I was like, oh, I missed that phrase. Why can't that come back? I don't know what it was now. So you're welcome, listener.
As I say it, dude, I don't even know what it means.
Suck it to me?
Yeah, I'm not sure I would use it
Because is
correctly.
it like, give it to me, bring it? Like, because she's saying respect, and then suck it to me, suck it to me, suck it to me. Like, what does that mean?
Suck it to me. Something, if someone sucks it to another person, they do or say something that makes a great impression on them. Come on, lads, suck it to them.
So, like, if
Tally-ho.
if someone did something really cool, then we could say, "Yeah, sock it to me."
You socked it to me?
I think we should enunciate it as clearly as possible when we say it, though.
Yeah.
For full effect. Wow, you
no
really
blurring.
socked it to me.
Sock it to them.
Your Tally-ho thing reminds me, dude. There's where we go
Dude, I'm going to tell you about this.
in Delaware for medical stuff. There's this shopping center called Tally-ho. And every time I drive by, my kids were like, shut up, Dad. So I was like, drive by and I'm like, Tally-ho!
Dude, there's a thing my kids show me. It's like ASMR, romantic ASMR gone wrong or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And it's this guy talking. He's like, yes, come over here, my darling. He's like, like, sit down here by the firelight. He's saying all these things, and all of a sudden you hear a crash. He's like, "Muffins at this hour?" He says something about, "Get me the strong ball." It's like he's got it. Someone's like, "He's got a cannon." He says something about tally-ho. The whole thing ends all weird. Someone gets shot, and he's like, "Call the police." So you have to look it up. It's freaking weird.
I've seen a couple of times lately that, which I think, Rob, you knew this. Matt, you probably did too, but that Alexander Graham Bell wanted the original way that people would greet each other on the phone, ahoy.
Ahoy, hoy.
Yeah, it's like, I'm like, I want to bring that back.
Dude, I just saw something. I tried that for a while in college, actually. My roommates and I, we'd answer, because Mr. Burns would answer it that way.
Right, ahoy, hoy.
I just saw this thing that was like the word hello did not mean hello like we used it before they started using it on the phone. It was kind of like I can't remember what it was. Forget it. I'm full of information today. You guys are on vacation.
You're full of kind of information, apparently. You get partway through and you're just like,
here's another one. You know that song Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit?
Yeah.
Yes.
My kids found this thing. It was like, this is all appropriate. I'm talking about all this stuff my kids show me. It shows me how much they respect me.
Sure thing, Rob.
Is that another sewing machine? Oh, it's a bag. From now defunct Joanne's. Anyway, they showed me this. It's maybe you guys have seen these things where like somebody covers a song. They take the YouTube video and they they make it sound jazzy, like it's like it's going to break stuff, and it's like, it's like it's just one of those days, you all. It's like it's all pretty, but it's dropping f-bombs everywhere. let me. Are you with me? That's such a dumb song, dude. You listen to
Do you remember? Do you remember Will Ferrell's Robert Goulet sketches?
Goulet.
Yes.
Yeah. When he come out on Conan as Goulet and wouldn't be out of character.
Was it that one or was he imitating I can't remember who else. What he's like on the turntable standing, and then he just starts puking everywhere.
That one is so funny. And he's supposed to be like a piece of art or something like that. And so he just keeps running like, oh. It's good. I don't know how much time I have.
Yeah, when do you have to jump off?
I don't know. We'll say I got a half an hour.
Okay.
40
Suck it to
minutes.
me. Respect.
Suck it to me. Well, here's how this came up. Spacemen, we're talking today about respect. Here's one thing that I think I notice a lot, and I have to reframe it. Give myself a usually it's men. Sometimes women, Mike, you were saying this too, but they will say, like when I ask them what they're looking for, they'll be like, I want to respect me. I'm like, what does that mean? Because sometimes, and usually I think when they say it, their spouse is like turned off by it immediately. Because it sounds like it almost sounds like, remember that I'm above you.
It's like almost like 50s to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I've earned
you will show me respect in this house.
Yeah.
And how every teacher I've ever met believes that respect is like, you just give it to me. I don't have to do a dang thing. You just have to give me your respect.
Yeah,
because of my
friggin' drives me nuts.
No, have you guys, I haven't read this book, but I've had several clients say they've read it. But, oh, dang. It's based on this. What is the title? I think now it's just called Love and Respect. But I think before it was called, or maybe this was always the title, but the content is men want respect, women want love.
Oh, I think didn't we talk about that one time?
Maybe. But yeah, I think that's, I mean, obviously a lot of people are saying it if somebody wrote a book about it, but
yeah.
Well, but even that, I think, but what does that mean?
No, I know.
Well, this is like in the conversation, and we had this conversation yesterday with my kids because I've said many times to my kids, my dad would have killed me if I said that stuff.
Yeah.
Like my son will walk around all day talking about his balls because he's at the right age. So he's always like, my balls. Like,
dude,
and I'm
teenagers are so dumb.
I'm such a classy dad that I just laugh at it. I'm never like, dude, stop talking about your balls.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just think, good one, man.
You nailed it, buddy.
So we were talking about this, like, I said something about, like, you guys were just pretty easy. Like, I have I've learned about myself, I guess we'll say. I've known it for like 10 years, probably at least. I'm a terrible disciplinarian. I don't want to do it. Like, my brain doesn't work that way. And so my kids didn't get, my oldest did because she was young. And so, it's like, hey, you put your kid in timeout. We put her in timeout. We put all my kids in timeout at some point, like, not to say I never did it. I just don't like doing it. As an adult, it's like, oh, what to do? Just don't be an idiot. Even when they're like teenagers, it's like, no, it's not my job to tell you everything that you should be doing. Like, so I don't know. Like I was telling my kids, because one of my sons, not the one who walks around talking about his balls all the time, but my other son always calls me Rob, which I think is hilarious.
When did that start?
Probably like a couple of years ago.
Did he just start doing it, or did he announce, I'm doing this from now on?
No, he just kind of do it every once in a while, and now it's just kind of become much more regular. And honestly, when he first did it, I was like, oh, I kind of love that. So, like, I don't, because I don't have this thing in my head that's like, this is a dad, and a dad does this. And I like, he still calls me dad sometimes. Like, it's not like he only calls me Rob, but his friends are always like, what? When they walk in the house, like, hey, Rob. I'm like, what? But like, so I don't know. What I told my kids was, I guess in my mind, respect to me means that they would listen to me, but not necessarily like do what I say. That doesn't mean, I mean, I guess it's a part of it. Like when my kids are little, I want them to do what I say. But I think respect to me is like, do you listen to me? Like, does what I say have any impact on you? Like, I don't know. I don't know if I have a strong definition because when men say it in my office, I tend to think, oh, you're talking about you want to feel listened to, not necessarily like they say it with a certain like power and excitement, like respect. And it's like, stop, dude. You're just gonna shut this whole thing down. I think they just mean I want to feel like she actually listens to what I say and like what I say matters in some way. But is that different? Like when you're talking about kids, is that different than like like if I say do, because I've had some parents where it's like I told them to do the chores or mow the lawn, and they better do it first time I say it. It's like, what kid do you have? It's just like, okay, here I go. So I don't know.
I know kids like that,
I
but
thought you were gonna say I know what respect is.
no, like ironically,
I know, Rob.
I think is like anytime you're having this conversation, you have to start there with the definite, like how are you choosing to define it? Like when it came up in the office the other day with some clients, and I was just like, all right, well, what is it you define as respect? Like what's the behavior you're looking for?
Right.
And often if you're talking like parents and kids, it's obedience.
Yeah.
But
I think that's wrong.
I think it is too.
I mean, I think that can be
to an extent.
a factor. Yeah, I think it's a factor.
Yeah.
If my kid never obeys me, clearly there is no respect. He doesn't think much of me as a human.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to bother doing anything I say.
And yeah, I don't know. Even that, I would, if a client sat across from me, I would challenge that. I wouldn't let a client make that statement.
What I just said?
Yeah. That clearly my child doesn't respect me because they never listen to me. I would say that that's not what that means. I would say you might be talking to him in a way that's not connecting with him.
Yeah, I guess
I just don't like the definitive of it, I guess.
Well, I'm using the definitive to begin with when I'm saying if my kid never listens to me, then it's like, well, clearly he doesn't respect me.
Right. Which is, and honestly, like that's how I most often hear it.
Yeah.
And so when people say it, I'm like, no, we need to look at this different.
It's not really never.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to define the opposite. I think
you're going to what now?
When I've heard guys say that, I think what they're trying to say is like, I want to be something other than being so easily dismissed. Like if I say something, right, and a lot of times these guys are like maybe saying it kind of in an over the top way, like a reactive way. And so the content of whatever they're saying is easily dismissed because like, well, dad lost his temper and that's clearly not okay. And mom's like, yeah, your dad shouldn't have handled it that way. Let's just do this. And then like mom will be, so oftentimes I think it's more a couple issue than it is like a parent-child thing.
Right.
Where it's like the kid knows like, yeah, whatever, dad, just, blow your lid and then I'm going to go to mom, or dad's going to say something and I'm just going to be able to like push that aside. And, when we've talked about dads in media and stuff like that, like I think it's probably more like I want to be held in equal regard. And so since I feel like I'm not, I'm going to appeal to my title, what I provide for you. And I'm going to like talk about it in like a really easily dismissible way. Right. But that used to hold a lot of credibility, right? Like you should respect the person who puts a roof over your head and puts food on the table and all that stuff, right? So like
hierarchy built into our society.
Yeah. No, I can't remember what was going on the other night. I have felt not like disrespected or like respect's not the word that comes to mind for me in situations like this. It's more like kind of like unseen contribution maybe, or like
Uh-huh.
unacknowledged, right? Like I've tried to have conversations with my girls that straddle a line between making them like super paranoid about money and recognizing like what goes
That
into
life costs money.
everything, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
hey, can I get this? And I'm like, you know what that actually means, right? Like, but it's kind of like, well, yeah, dad goes to work. And it's like, well, hold on, like, I can't remember what the conversation was the other night, but my middle daughter was saying something to me, and I can't remember. It was like, you know, immature and dumb and entitled, right? And I was like, do you know that food you just ate wouldn't have been there if I wasn't here? She was kind of like, she kind of blew me off. But I can't remember what I said after that. But, and again, it wasn't like super helpful interaction, but that's what I feel in moments like that sometimes, is like, yeah, I don't want to be like Tyrannosaurus Rex king, but I do want some understanding and acknowledgement. Like you know, women feel this way in a lot of ways too, right? So I think that's also an important part of the conversation. But just this morning, I'm thinking like, we're going to send presents to my daughter for her birthday in a couple weeks. And like, just because of like, you know, distribution of duties and time and stuff like that, I probably won't be super involved in picking that out. But we wouldn't be able to do it if I didn't make the money I'm making.
Right.
But that, like, I kind of just have to accept that that's my contribution, and it doesn't really get seen, which I think is a maturity thing. And it's definitely, you know, it's what we signed up for when we get married and like provide for a family. But it is kind of a feeling in the back of my mind a lot where it's like, not like, I want you to know that I make a difference so that I get to feel like $1 million and you can like bow down at my feet, right? But kind of like, man, that kind of sucks. Like, does anybody know that this stuff's here because of me?
Well, and
like, and it can feel like a slap in the face when it's unacknowledged, and then there's like blatant, like, you know, disobedience, like, screw you, I'm gonna sleep until, you know, like that. That's when it starts to wear on people, I think. But I think generally as men, we have a hard time articulating what's underneath all that for us, and so we just demand something, but that doesn't fix it.
Well, and I do think there's a lot to be said for that idea of like unacknowledged efforts. Like, there's days I don't want to go to work. There's lots of days I don't go to work for me.
Mm-hmm.
I go to work because if I don't, then what's not getting paid for at my house?
Yeah.
And so to never have that kind of thing recognized, to never have it recognized that like, yeah, you complain that dad's gone all day, but the fact that you can do X, Y, and Z, that's because I'm gone all day. Like, so if you want to stop doing that, I can stop being gone all day. Like, I can cut back my hours. That's cool. But I do like, and some of it, I think, some of the mistake that I think gets made with respect, and I think I mentioned this before we started recording, like, I would watch teachers and hear teachers so often basically tell their students, you have to respect me. And I thought, well, good luck with that. Like, some of them will, because that's what their parents have taught them.
Yeah.
Or because of the fear of consequence.
Yeah.
Some of them just think, you can say it all day long, I'm not doing it. And I always laugh at the teacher because I think you have to find a different way to get that kid, because otherwise the kid's going to be a nightmare for you all year. And we think that kids have an inherent understanding of what respect is, forgetting it's taught. Like, you have to teach someone, hey, here's how the world works. Like, it's like you said, that straddling that fine line between making them paranoid about money and just helping them understand, no, the world costs money. Like, it all comes at a cost. And so if we don't ever teach that to our kids, where are they going to learn it? Money just magically appears. I ask mom and dad for something, it shows up. And, some parents will incorporate, allowances and chores for money. And I think there's lots of different ways to kind of reinforce the concepts of money. But ultimately, that idea of like, we think that kids are just going to kind of understand what respect is without ever teaching it. And I think that's part of the problem. The other part of the problem is, like, I used to have and I think I've mentioned this on here before. My principal used to, in faculty meetings all the time, she would say, "I'm so tired of hearing you teachers say,"
You teachers.
yeah. And with just that tone, she would say it. She was real ball buster. No, but she's like, "I'm so tired of hearing you guys say things like, how many times do I have to say this?" And she's like, the oldest kids in this building are 11. The answer to the question is apparently one more time. And like, after hearing that from her a couple of times, I didn't say it often. Like, I was not someone who would drop that line often, but every once in a while when I'd get frustrated, I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, why are we still having this conversation? Like, why am I having to say this again? We talked about this like literally last week, or sometimes literally yesterday. Why are we having this conversation again?" And hearing her say that apparently one more time, I was like, oh, right, because 8. They don't function the way adults function.
You were saying, because you have to stay at 8 times. That's the number.
Once you get to 8, then you can say, "I've done it 8 times. How many more times do I have to tell you?" No, but that I like, and it just kind of like, I started incorporating even with my teenage kids, because they would do something that we had talked about, and I'd be like, "Yeah, okay, so apparently they need it one more time." And I just kind of shifted away from thinking that it was this personal attack against me, and recognizing like, no, it's just a teenager. I'm inevitably asking them to stop doing something that's more enjoyable than what I'm about to ask them. They're not trying to be terrible. They just don't want to do the thing I'm asking. So they'll put it off as long as they can. It's not disrespect. It's just like, how often does, Jenna will ask me to do stuff and I think, I don't want to do that right now. And so I'll stall. And then she's like, so like, this happened last night. She's like, do you still have to do stuff in the bathroom that you'll turn off the light? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, I got it. And like 10 minutes later, I was still sitting on the bed. I hadn't gotten up yet. And she just goes, so are you actually going to the bathroom sometime soon, or should I get up and turn off the light? And I was like, nope, I'm on it. And again, like, it's not like I sat there and thought, man, I really want Jenna to know I'm upset about something, so I'm going to not turn off the light. No, I was distracted doing the thing I was doing. And so I didn't immediately get up to do it. And was I being disrespectful? She may have felt I was. She didn't, but like, it's possible, right? In that scenario, she could have.
Sure.
Well, if Mike respected me, he would have gotten up and turned off the light. And no, go ahead.
Well, I think it's a bigger picture of a bigger pattern. If someone says, if you respect me, would have gotten up, it means something's already eroded.
Yeah.
A long time before. And it's kind of interesting when because I remember you used the word, Matt, acknowledgement, like acknowledging the contribution. That's kind of in my mind when I say to people, like, you want to feel like what you say matters. Like, and I say because I'm talking about the conversation sometimes between a husband and wife, like, where it does feel like, I want to feel like if I said something, you might say, hey, that's a good idea. Like, thanks for the input. Which is interesting. I think too, if I was thinking in my house, if I never say that to my wife, but she says it to me, my kids will learn Dad has good ideas, Mom doesn't. And then suddenly they'll start to think, oh, I don't look at Mom in the same way I look at Dad in that way, or whatever it is. Like, and suddenly, kind of like what you're saying, Matt, it does happen to women too, that their contribution can go massively overlooked, in terms of like the kids mean, kids have no clue, like, that their life was run by this woman for at least 10 years, like,
Yeah.
so, and it's hard to conceptualize. With us, we can put a monetary, I made this much money. You are eating because of me, but then with the wife sometimes, or the mom, it's like, you exist because of me.
Yeah.
You actually made it to dinner day today because of me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because I was thinking about as we're listening to it, I think it matters as a listener to be able to identify the difference between respect and acknowledgement. Like, I need to know that what I do has impact and that it's seen and recognized. Because then you don't demand respect. You're kind of saying, I really want to be able to talk about this. I feel like what I do does not get seen. But then I was thinking, my brain shifted into, okay, so how do you create then in your house an environment of respect? And I mean an environment because I don't mean your wife respects you, but it's that you respect each other.
Right. An area where there's mutual respect.
And I can have respect for my kids. Like I can respect when they speak up for themselves. That sometimes, my daughter just recently was like, Dad, why'd you say this? Why'd you tell this person this? I was like, I didn't. No, you're right. Sorry, I did. Like, that's me showing, like, respect. Like, hey, you had this feeling, and yeah, I can acknowledge I should have done that. Sorry. Like, that's a sign of respect. How do you create it? And then I do want to talk about my friend Ryan's score on the masculine test.
Oh, yeah.
Because it has to do with tyrant. Anyway.
To me, I think I think there's two things that come to mind for me. One of them is simple politeness. Like, I think, like, general politeness has taken a pretty big hit societally for us, culturally for us. And to me, that's a real loss. Like, sure, you could call some of the things outdated, but I think, no, but it's just a polite thing. Like, I saw a lady struggling to get something off a shelf today. And what's the polite thing to do? Hey, do you need some help with that?
Make fun of her? Oh.
Right? I mean,
yeah, what you said, what you were saying, that was good.
Right. That's you were just right there.
Hey, Stumpy, what's your deal?
What, aren't you tall enough? But it's just that kind of, please and thank you. Like, my teachers that I worked with, my colleagues would hear me say please to my students or say sorry to my students, and they would be like, you don't need to do that, you're the teacher. And I thought, like, that's some crap logic. And I thought, they're 8. They're going to do it because they're seeing me do it. And so if I'm apologizing to them, if Mr. Porter is willing to apologize, I can apologize too. If Mr. Porter says please, then I should probably say please too. And so some of it, to me, like, just that idea of politeness and teaching it and modeling it. The other big one that took me way too long as a teacher to realize it, and sadly, a lot of my things I figured out as a teacher, not as a father. Sorry, kids. But I, like, you hear a lot of the same questions as a teacher, right? Like, you learn, like, when I would give an assignment, I could anticipate I'm going to get asked these, like, 3 things. And especially a lot of teachers will, like, reuse assignments. I would reuse a lot. They'd usually get tweaked, but I would reuse a lot of assignments. And so after, 10, 11, 12 years, I know what questions are going to come with this assignment. Like, I just know. And so kids would start to ask me, like, no. And they would get so upset because Mr. Porter, like, why, like, you don't even let me finish. And in terms of respect, I think there's no way that kid feels respected. That kid can't even get their entire question out before I have cut them off and said no. And I would always laugh and be like, yeah, because I know what you're going to ask. No, you don't know. And then I would say, you're going to ask this. Oh.
Well, not like that.
You do know. And I was like, yeah, I told you. Well, can I? No. But I realized that just letting them, even if I knew, right? And like I said, most of the time I knew, even if I knew what the question was, letting them ask the whole thing and just waiting for like 2 seconds and then saying, nope, sorry, can't do it. To the kid, like the incidence of kids being like, you don't even listen. Oh my gosh, it's not fair. Like completely went away. Just because I sat and listened to them. And it also, like, as a teacher, I found it's a lot easier to correct a kid and correct behavior if I'm already doing the appropriate version of the behavior. If I'm saying please, it's a lot easier for me to say to the kid, hey, we say please. Well, you never do. Well, I mean, like, when I say we, I mean you kids say please. I do whatever I want. So, it's a lot easier to say it like, yeah, I do say please. Most of the time, like sometimes you're right, I don't, but most of the time I say please. So in here we say please. It's a lot easier to give that correction and that kind of feedback if they can't turn around. And that's something a lot of, like, you know, I don't know if either of you work with teenagers much anymore, but you both have. And I'm sure you remember the teenagers like, oh my gosh, my parents will sit and tell me not to do something and then they'll do it. And I think, yeah, your kid notices. And they think it's super hypocritical that you do that. And so, like, if you want your kid to exhibit certain behaviors, you have to exhibit those behaviors. Now, there are some things, right? Like, if you are over 21 and you choose to drink, sure. By the time your kid's old enough to understand that, you can, like, they'll understand that, no, sorry, legally, you're not allowed. Like, this is, but for the most part, for just like general behaviors, how are you going to expect your kids to do something you're not doing? So,
True.
Matt, what have you got?
Yeah.
No, when you were saying that last part, there was, I can't remember what the numbers are on this, but there was something I read once about parenting that was like kind of ranking the effectiveness of different ways of teaching or guiding. And it was like the things we do, like discipline, right? Lecturing, educating, and then like example. And it's like, stop doing the top 3. Just do the last one, basically, right? Like, it was like, these are like so ineffective, but they are kind of the go-to, the lecture especially, right? Like, I'm going to talk to you until I get it into your head, but it's like the kid's like shutting down more and more and more. But when I've asked parents, what are the top 3 attributes or values that you're trying to instill in your kids, I can't think of a time when people haven't said kindness, respect, and hard work.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are like pretty universal. And to your point, I think anytime that we're asking these questions about parenting, it's helpful to do like a self-assessment, as a family. How kind are we, right? And how hardworking are we, which I think involves like being open to feedback and correction and guidance. So you could add there, like, I want my kids to be coachable, basically. And then I almost think like the natural byproduct then is respect. But I think in my own parenting, I think, I could say, yeah, I've done all 3 of those things, but I probably focus more on where I have not done those things. And I think that it's hard to trust as a parent that if I just like do the right thing, my kids will go through all sorts of different phases where it takes more than one time of telling them, or they're really disrespectful, or they're really insecure about something. So they're like, super irritable and hard to do things. And it's hard for me to like remember what an a-hole I was, right? And like all the things that I went through, and how I outgrew a lot of that stuff. And so I think when we fear, we resort to like, yeah, kindness doesn't matter because I'm the parent, right? And I'm going to demand like hard work and obedience of you, and your response better be respect. And that tells me that I'm being a good parent, right? I've got control of this. It's really hard to not slip into that. Lisa was telling me about, what is that show that you said sucked, Rob? It's with The Man on the Inside.
Oh, the
Yeah.
Ted Danson one.
Ted
I ended up
Danson. Yeah.
liking it a little bit more, but yeah, it wasn't my favorite.
I haven't watched any of it, but there's this scene she was telling me about where this daughter was talking to her dad, like an adult daughter, talking about her kids and saying, just worrying how they were going to turn out because of something, right? And he was like, well, remember when you were that age and you did this, this, and this? And she's like, Dad, I'm just trying to like get some empathy, like I don't want you to like shine a light on my failings. And he's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm just telling you, like, kids do dumb stuff and parents are good parents. It's like let it all works out, kind of like, yeah, your kid is doing dumb stuff. You did dumb stuff, right? Does that mean I'm a bad parent? No. Like, does that mean you're a bad parent? No. But I think when it becomes kind of, you remember that book, it was your book, Mike, the tennis coach, talking about like task minded versus ego minded.
Yeah.
I think it's really hard not to be ego minded in our parenting. And then when something's not working out, we don't even recognize how in that moment we feel like we're failing as a parent. So we double down on things that we know don't work, but feel more like they're in our
gives
control.
Us a sense of control.
Yeah. And I can make you do something.
Yeah.
And I think that's why teenage years become harder, because it's like, well, I can't really make you, can't pick you up and put you somewhere anymore.
But we don't stop trying.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you that like when we're at our best, we are living out those values and trusting that over the long term, that's going to make a bigger difference, even if in the short term, we're not seeing respect, but ultimately we're giving our kids the best chance at being respectful, kind, hardworking people. But, yeah.
Well, and it's a little bit of a cliche, but like to me, it really comes back to, if you think about like, if I screwed up, how would I want someone to correct me? Like, okay, if you use that as a guideline, you'll probably be okay. Right. And if you say, well, I don't care if they yell at me, you're lying.
Yeah.
You would care. You'd get super pissed about it. Like, that's not how anyone ever wants to be dealt with. Like, and that's the thing, like, as you were talking, a lot of this stuff, my daughter, the place that two of my daughters are working this summer, they're just the owner's husband, who kind of, I guess oversees the production team, which is where my two daughters work. Like, he likes to lecture, I guess. And ironically, he'll lecture about efficiency. And so he's yelling at them for not getting things done fast enough, but he's lecturing for like, this will just take 10 minutes. And then 20 minutes later, he's still going. And it's like, all right, well, I could have done way more things in the 10 minutes you've gone over, but I guess here we are. But I just think, like if you happen to be in a management position in work, like these same principles are applicable there. Like Jenna and I were talking about that this morning, about she works with someone who kind of is like a therapist for HR departments. And I thought I could do that. And she goes, well, you would need this. And I'm like, no, I don't. Like this, like the principles that as relational therapists we work on apply to any relationship. They're not unique to the familial or to the marital relationship. Like, no, this is like, this applies to your business relationships too. If you're struggling with, feeling like you're respected at work, chances are you're approaching it wrong. Not the people you're talking to. Like the manager is probably approaching it wrong. And they need to look at, I've got to find a different way to approach this with these workers, because I'm not getting the results I'm expecting.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. Both the things you guys said, I think I'll take those and merge them or build on them. I don't know, whatever. Like, because in my head, I think you do have to have. This is my kids and I are re-listening to. I don't know if this is necessary, but we're re-listening to The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, because my kids really liked it, and he put out his newest book is Revenge of the Tipping Point, where he kind of goes back and says, well, actually, maybe
I got a lot of things wrong this first time.
Yeah. And it's interesting. He talks a lot about Sesame Street and Blue's Clues and why those shows were so successful especially when Sesame Street came out. Everything was like, that should not work. And Blue's Clues does things that was like, I didn't realize this, that they show the same episode every day for 5 days. Yeah,
and then just cycle to the next one the next week, or what?
The next week is the next episode.
Okay.
Because it has to do with repetition and the way they would find that when they did this, these kids would gain so much more by the end of the week. It was fascinating. But it's interesting because he at some point talks about, and we've talked about this before, this is when I work with teenagers. I tell parents, like, my first job is to get your kid to like me, because if he doesn't like me, they're not going to listen to a word I say. And I think that's true in a house. I think it's true in a relationship with my spouse. When I'm teaching kids, it's like, I got to engage your kid. I got to engage this person as a human before they'll ever listen to me. So if I want my kid to like be proud of, or to acknowledge what I'm doing, or if I want my wife to listen to what I'm saying, it's like, well, do I listen to her? Like, so that's the listening thing. Like, can I be curious and say, hey, maybe you're right about this? Like, my kid will probably be really excited that I've used his topic. This was his topic that he suggested. Because it's like, I want my kids to feel like, yeah, you guys impact me too. Like, I listen to you, because that's me modeling. This is what we do inside of space. Like, I don't have all the answers. I can recognize you have some, which I think makes it easier for you to recognize that I have some. So if I never acknowledge to my wife that she is impactful to me, I don't think she's very likely to acknowledge back to me that I'm impactful to her, because we haven't set that tone in our relationship. So I think that's part of the listening, part of the acknowledging, the setting by example. Like, I think it is kind of funny. I think it is much less, and Matt, what you're talking about, I think, yeah, fear gets in the way and suddenly we kick into like parenting mode. But I think sometimes this is much less about parenting or even like being a good husband, and just like being a good human. And then respect kind of naturally flows. Like, I can think of tons of people that well, actually, I guess I'd phrase it this way. I don't know anybody that I respect, or maybe very few people that I respect, that I don't also really have, like, I really like them and have an admiration for them too. Like, I have a good relationship with them that I deeply respect. Very few people I'd say I respect that guy, but I don't like him at all. Maybe off the top of my head, I don't have any, but so I think it matters to recognize too, kind of what we're saying on lots of episodes. There's a whole bunch of, not your story actually, earlier before we started recording, this idea of, it's like you're kind of integrating all these parts together.
Yeah.
It's not like this is the one way. You have to integrate these things. But I think it matters so much to recognize that how you live your life will be the biggest thing that will ask people to respect you, or that they will just naturally do it if you respect other people. But if you walk around and you don't respect, like when someone's like, I want to respect me, my wife should respect me. It's like, I don't know how much you respect her, man.
Yeah.
What your definition is, you're not doing it, so why would she do it back?
No, you're right. I think when anybody's like demanding respect without looking at themselves, it's kind of like we've said before, when guys are like, I'm an alpha. It's like, no, you're probably not.
Not if you're telling me.
Yeah, I don't like you're saying, respect just kind of flows naturally when you have that bond between. And there's, I think that, kind of like you've said before, Mike, when you taught, and I think Clayton Christensen would say this about his students at Harvard. Like, he'd just openly express, I love you guys, and so I want to do my best for you, right? And it's really hard. I think it requires a lot of courage to like be the leader in creating that kind of environment in your home, in your relationships, in your business, whatever, right? Because there will be, I don't want to call kids bad actors, right? But there will be times when you feel like, we got some bad actors here. They're taking advantage of my love. They're taking advantage of, right? And it's hard to respond to that with increased love, kindness, and support. But ultimately, I think that's what tears down those barriers. But I do think love can also look like limits, right, and boundaries, and like, no, you're not going to talk to me that way, right? Yeah, because I would never talk to you that way. So, yeah.
Well, and that's I think parents often misunderstand that when I talk about stuff like this with them, because I do, like, I firmly believe if you want to change the way you feel about somebody, express love for them.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are like, but I don't think I feel love. And I'm like, well, try expressing it first. You'll find, once you do it, you'll be able to start identifying, well, I can at least appreciate this about this person. But I think everything we're saying, we're not saying your kids should be able to just do whatever they want. Like, Rob, you mentioned at the beginning that like discipline's not like you don't like it, like you've done it before, but you don't really. And I think, yeah, sure, some of that I think is the personality of your kids. Like, would I tell all parents, like, no, you don't need to discipline your kid? No, I wouldn't. Like, if my kid is stealing the car, okay, yeah, I'm probably going to do some stuff. Like, there's going to be some consequences for that. Like, obviously, you're not going to get free range in my car if you're doing a lot of dumb, illegal things in it. I'm not going to facilitate you doing things wrong, right? But it's, again, like, it is that idea of just boundaries. Like, we're not saying, like, no, let your kids have free. Like, you have to decide as a couple, or if you're a single parent, like, you have to decide for yourself what you're comfortable with and what works for you and what works for your kids. But if you are having a lot of pushback, chances are it's not working. You certainly probably don't have the relationship you want to have.
And probably means you need to repair the relationship.
Right. And so to me, I think you can only, like, you can sit there and parents will, well, my kid needs to do this and this and this. And I think that's great, but you can't control that. So let's focus on you. Like, what are you going to change about how you interact with your kid? And let's see what happens.
We've nailed it again.
Crushed it.
Okay, test results.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I just want to. It's. He only gave me his king score. So my friend Ryan did the masculine test, and his king score, he said he got a 69, so leaning towards tyrant. But he said, lover in the streets, tyrant in the sheets. And I felt like that's a healthy way, because this guy, he is so far from tyrannical in any way that's like, what? It's hilarious. I was like, I got tyrant in the sheets, though, probably. Yeah, I can do that.
Ryan.
Yeah, that was a funny test. Anyway, well, I guess that's it. We did it. Another one in the books. Congratulations, us. Hey, we're almost at episode
200.
200.
Yeah.
How close?
And actually, according
this is
to
193.
Okay.
So that's what it says on our on our thing, right? But then Listen Notes says this is 195.
That's because you had those two, like, interstitials, those, like, short ones, man nuggets.
I only had two man nuggets.
You had a third that never finished.
I feel like two is an appropriate number of man nuggets.
Man nuggets.
So those ones, somewhere the hosting software stopped counting those ones as full episodes.
Oh, okay.
And so it keeps us at 193 still. So it'll be, it's the end of, well, I don't know, it's like August. But also, we need to announce this because I haven't started reading this book, and we need to figure out the book we're reading next, Mike. What is it?
It is called The Scarcity Brain
by
Michael Easter. It's the same guy, or not The Scarcity Brain, just Scarcity Brain. The cover's at home. Written by Michael Easter. He's the same guy who wrote Comfort Crisis.
Yeah.
And this one, I think it was his next book after Comfort Crisis.
Mm-hmm. I thought that was before.
I don't think so.
You're probably right. I don't know.
But I'd have to look again. But something as I haven't gotten very far in it, but something as I was reading it made it seem like it. Yeah, it's got to be, because it was published in 2023.
Well,
anyway,
I'll be excited to read it.
We almost did The Tipping Point, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've considered it because I want to. We'll see.
Yeah, I read the intros to both books, and scarcity brain just felt a little like I love Malcolm Gladwell. Oh my gosh, I love the way that guy thinks.
Yeah.
And I love his willingness to be wrong. And there was an episode of his that I might recommend it as a basis for an episode for us. But
well, when it's my book turn, which is next time, my friend Ryan was suggesting at first that we do Mark Hoppus, the
drummer
one of the singers, no, bass player for Blink.
Oh, there you go.
He had a book that just came out. He's like, do this one. And I was like, when he texted back, he's like, yeah, it's all right.
Dude,
like, well,
who's the member of Blink 182 that's like all into UFOs?
Tom DeLonge, the guitar player.
Yeah, I need to read his book sometime.
Yeah, he's a weird dude. Also can't sing for crap, but anyway, all right. So then, Spacemen, come back next time and catch us on the Manspace. Go boy and sister's hair.